Hi, I'm Bardia Seiri, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Hi everyone, it's Chloe with the Permanent Rain Press. Today I'm happy to be joined by Bardia Seiri. How are you?
I am doing great. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you, dive into your role in Incoming. But to start off, what can you tell me about your background in the arts and what sparked that passion in you to follow in your father's footsteps as an artist?
Yeah, definitely. Mm, when I was about one or two, I was in Iran, Tehran, and I was just in the living room. My dad went to work. He worked as an actor and a filmmaker. He went to set back and forth. And one of the days, he brought me. And from then on, it was just like a snowball effect. We kept going and I started falling in love with the industry. And from then on, I've just been doing different projects and it's been great.
How much has it meant to you to have your parents, your family, and friends support in this journey?
It's definitely helped me a lot when I was younger. It was definitely hard when I got rejected from auditions because it's usually 90% no's. Um, but it definitely helped me a lot. My parents, my family, incredible support, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
You have also trained in music and dance when you were younger. So, what did you enjoy about these art forms, and have you kept up these skills over the years?
I've haven't done a lot of dance, but I've done piano when I was younger. I got put into the piano class. At first, I didn't like it. I didn't like music. I didn't want to do music, but because I wanted to do drums, and I remember specifically my teacher saying the piano is like the center of all music, of all instruments. So I was put there first. I never really got to the drums. I still don't like music that much, but I've done piano for a while and then I stopped, but I still love it. It's something I look back on.
It's never too late to start a new skill. So, I mean, drums, you could put it on your list for like your 5-year goal or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you currently in school for the arts?
I am still in high school currently. I just got into my senior year of high school. So that's exciting, but I am in my video production class and my film class. I've been in there for 4 years now. I just got into 4 years, and I've been in my school's daily broadcast. It's just anything that's in the industry I love, and I love doing it in school as well.
You're a reporter for your high school news network, right? I saw the videos on YouTube. You do the sports updates. It must be fun to kind of come together with your peers and your friends and kind of put those things together.
100%, definitely. My friends also started falling in love with the industry as well. I reeled them in kind of on accident. I didn't even push them. I just invited them to do these stuff with me. I invited them to do the daily broadcast or come film a project with me, and they just fell in love with it as well.
Through these classes and any other kind of training you've had, in film, even just regular classes outside of school, what are some key lessons that you've learned and maybe took with you now that you're kind of building your film resume?
Definitely, the story is the most important part. It's not the equipment, it's not the fancy lights, not the fancy camera. You can film a whole movie on iPhone, but if your story's great, if it has depth and it relates to people, then people are gonna like it, whether or not it doesn't have a good mic or a camera or a good camera.
That's definitely a great lesson to kind of take with you and focus on when you're also kind of figuring out the story for a future project. Now, you recurred as Farouk on Grey's Anatomy, really popular show. How was your time on set of the series, playing your character, and what did it teach you about the industry?
That was definitely my very first big project. Um, and I don't remember much from my season 14 because I was really young, but I do remember glimpses of it in my memory. I was obviously very excited, and it was a very new experience for me. So I was like up all night practicing my lines. I did not want to mess anything up. I was really nervous, but the cast, the crew, everybody was super nice, super welcoming. And when you just get into set, all that anxiety goes away. So all you have to focus on is your performance.
I think when you were on season 14, you were like around 10 years old. So it makes sense that you don't really remember. And then you came back like 4 or 5 years later where you have a better grasp on what's going on. You got to work with veteran actors, notably Abigail Spencer and Kevin McKidd, who you reunited with in both seasons. So what can you say about them and Kim Raver as people and as scene partners?
Definitely, they are extremely, extremely talented people, extremely nice people. And Abigail, I've been working with her for the 2 seasons, and she's just been a blast. She's been super helpful. Kevin, on the other hand, super, super nice guy, super funny guy. Sometimes when I couldn't get a line right or I was kind of nervous, he'd always point me in the right direction on set, and it's super, super nice.
What can you say about the fan base for Grey's Anatomy and the support that you received? Because I was looking through like your Instagram tags and there were like a lot of edits there, even like dating back to, a couple of years ago when you were on.
They are definitely, it's definitely global. Um, I've I've heard people from America and I've heard people from Brazil. There's a lot of Brazilian fans for Grey's Anatomy, and it's been great. Everyone, all the fan base is super nice. I mean, the edits are nice too. Um, but they're all around the world, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them either.
We will get into incoming now, and for all those watching, we are discussing spoilers, so please make sure you have finished the movie before continuing. What can you share about your audition process and what drew you to wanting to be a part of this project?
The audition process was definitely nerve-wracking. It was a big filter down because they were auditioning for Koosh and there was a wide variety of people, and I was one of them. But then slowly, every callback after callback, it got slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. And every callback is scarier because you're so deep into this audition that like anything can happen. So you got to be on your you got to be on your A game. But the role, um, I really loved it because it's a teen role and it's also a comedy. I also love comedies. I love movies kind of like Super Bad. That also drew me into it. And just the character itself, Koosh, he he is I can relate to him in some parts. Not all of it, but some parts. Definitely one is him going into high school. Definitely nerve-wracking, definitely very scary. I've had that experience before, and that really helped me put him into the character and find a point.
Did you have to do any chemistry reads with other cast members?
Yes, I did one with my castmate Victoria. Um, I think if I remember right, that was the only chemistry test we've done, at least for me, because I think that was the most intimate and important scene that I was gonna have. So it was right to find the right person and see if we were a good match.
We'll talk about that scene, that specific scene a bit later on, but I know the dialogue in this movie, it's quite raunchy, not the most child friendly. So was it an adjustment for you to adapt to this dialogue? Like how did you get to a place where it felt comfortable?
It was definitely a lot of cussing. And when I read the script for the first time, I laughed out loud, like literally. But it wasn't that hard to adjust. I mean, it's not like I don't cuss, but like it was really easy. It's just the character that was the most important part to me to get right.
Let's talk more about your character. Let's talk about Koosh. Like, how would you describe him as a person with respect to his personality, his values, and current goals? Like, what's important to him?
Definitely a lot of the stuff that he does is kind of over the line. Like some of the ways that he tries to get girls' attention, that's a bit over the line. Um, but I feel like if you look deeper than the surface level of Koosh, he's really trying to fit in, but also stand out at the same time. And that's how I felt when I was going into high school. I wasn't really myself the first few months, but I just opened up slowly. And I think Kush's goal is just follow the footsteps of his brother, Avon, because he was such a big popular guy in high school. And I think that's what his goal is, to be Kayvon 2.0.
It's interesting how you frame it, and it's so true. Like that transition period is very hard as a teenager. I thought that what was also really nice was the wardrobe choices. I feel like viewers could understand the characters through the clothing that they wore, and for you, like for Kush, it was like high end, nicer brands like Supreme, Kenzo. You had like the upper class preppy look. Did that aspect also help you get into character?
Definitely, before we shot, I went to get my clothes fitted for the role, and I walked in, and I was thinking I thought it was just gonna be like normal clothes. I walked in, and it's like all these designer clothes, and I'm like, I know exactly what they want. So after I got my fitting, I reread the entirety of the movie script again, and I'm like, now I see, and now I see what they want, and I gave it to them.
And the gold chain as well was like the trademark.
Yeah.
I'm sure like
The
the
cool.
second you also put that on, you're like, okay, I understand who this is. Tell me about his relationship with his family and with Kayvon. Like you mentioned, he's trying to kind of be his older brother. We unfortunately don't get to meet his parents in the movie, but what do you think his relationship is like with them? Are they around a lot? Are they gone? And how has his family's wealth and living in his brother's shadow affected and impacted him?
I feel like because of the way he acts and the way he kind of does some stuff that's kind of immoral, I feel like he doesn't have that much direction. Um, and by his parents not being there, that kind of feels like um they're distant, kind of. There is a connection, but there's not really a connection. Like you don't even see them in the movie, and the only family member you can see is his brother, and his brother doesn't even isn't even nice to him. So you can understand how he might not have a sense of direction or he might not know what to do when he gets to high school.
It's almost like he's missing like that nurturing kind of figure around. And, you know, his brother, he endures physical abuse from Kayvon. What makes Koosh think that this is normal? Like, how does he justify his brother's actions? Because we see it every time he hits him, it hurts.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like he tries to act like it's not a big deal, like it's just brotherly love, it's just tough love from his brother. But deep down, and when he's probably not with his friends, he doesn't think that way at all. He thinks that um maybe if my brother was a little nicer, maybe I don't know, maybe he might have a better connection with them. They might be friends. That's another side of Kush.
For sure. And, you know, because this is overall, like you mentioned, this is a comedy, you like comedy, but there are really good pockets or moments of vulnerability in the movie. Like you can see how serious his situation is that he doesn't realize when he takes off his shirt in the home spa. But Kush's friends said in the movie they tolerate him despite his like douchey attitude. They're all very different characters. Did you think about how they became friends and why they continue to hang out?
I feel like the three other kids, Mason, Rafa, Ramon, they're really good friends. And I guess they've had this circle of the threes when they were before high school. And I think Koosh was trying to get into that group. And I think he was slowly trying to make himself a part of it. But since he didn't have any direction from his parents or his brother, how to express himself or how to be himself. He tried to act douchey. He tried to act cool, but then it came off as douchey and came off as mean. So then people didn't want to be around him, which which I mean I would get. I saw exactly how he acted, but I understand. I empathize with Koosh.
He definitely found his way in at least a little bit, and I like how you kind of summarize that because I feel like Benj is a bit more forgiving when it comes to Kush and his attitude, and Eddie and Connor are a bit more like apprehensive or not liking him as much. Which was your favorite scene to film and why?
That's a good question. There's definitely a lot. If I can think of one right now, I would say maybe the spa scene was my favorite because it was definitely unique. It was definitely something I've never done before. Um, and when I saw that I had to break my collarbone, they gave me a prosthetic on my collar. They made a prosthetic broken collarbone, which was super gross because like when I touched it, it actually felt like a broken collarbone. And they make up people really nice job. It took a while, it took like a few hours to get that ready, but it turned out great. And when I had to fall, um, I didn't know there was gonna be a stunt double, so I was like in my house practice like, okay, how am I gonna fall? How should I land? I didn't want to actually break my collarbone, and then I get there and it's a stunt double. I'm like, oh, I just did all that for nothing.
Okay, but they could have saved you from harming yourself or
Definitely.
injury on set. But it's interesting to, I'm sure, for you get to wear that kind of prosthetic and learn about, that part of it. So you mentioned Victoria Moroles as Kush's planned meet cute. I don't think her name is said in the movie, but is it Gabrielle or Gabrielle?
Yeah, it's Gabrielle. It's just basically it's his meet cute, and um she finds her Koosh finds her on the security cameras, which is already creepy. And then the guy tries to come up to her and then he sprays her with his like automatic sprinklers. Um but I think yeah, he's had this plan for a while. I feel like he's had this before he gone to high school. I think he had this all planned out.
Yeah, definitely making use of his family's home security cameras. But how was she as a scene partner and getting to play off of those dynamics in the home spa?
Feel like that chemistry test really, really was great because we did we did work really well. Definitely the parts where we had to be serious, we were serious. Our emotions reflected each other. We bounced off, and when there was the comedic parts, those were definitely some. We worked really well on those as well. I mean, she's great. They're all everyone in that in incoming is great. Super, super incredible people.
In the collarbone, he ended up breaking it in two places. It's not seen in the movie, but how do you think he got himself to the hospital?
I feel like I feel like he crawled to the hospital. I don't know because um I think it's either I think he crawled to his phone. That's what he did. Um but it's definitely something I'm thinking about. I don't know. I've never been asked this question before. I've never thought about this. That's definitely something to think about.
I'm trying to like fill in the blanks because he looked pretty helpless lying on the floor. I was like, it doesn't look like this guy's gonna get up. But I also thought maybe the police found him when they shut the party down. Like she did leave the door open, so that could be an option. I loved the conversation that he had with Alyssa at the hospital. Tell me about that scene and moment for both you and then for Koosh. Like, what did he realize about himself that needed to be changed or at least worked on in the future?
This was definitely a character development for Koosh. It was definitely a turning point for him. I feel like people can learn the hard or the easy way. And Koosh definitely learned the hard way, and that breaking his collarbone definitely was kind of like a slap in the face, like a wake up call. And when he was there uh, with Ali Gallo, um, which is she's incredible. Um, that's where he started to learn, be like, I should change. I feel like this is not right, and I should find myself. And I feel like he's on his way to finding himself. He's not quite there yet, but he's on his way.
He even says to his friends at school the next day, like, I don't think my brother's a good person. So it's like slowly those wheels are kind of turning for him. The ending of the movie, it screams sequel. If you were to return to this character in the future, what might you like to see or explore with him?
I definitely like to see him change. Um, Either change before the movie starts, or the movie is him developing to become this good person. Both ways, I feel like would make Koosh a lot likable to both audiences and the characters that he interacts with. I think they'll both love him.
I think we've just like touched the tip of the surface. Like they just started high school. The movie basically takes place over like their first week. So there's so much more to explore. What do you hope viewers take away from this movie?
Well, definitely this is a comedy movie. So the most important thing is to have a good time and enjoy this movie and have some laughs. But there's definitely multiple lessons in this movie, and they don't just come from one person. They come from Mason, they come from Rafa, they come from Ramon, and they also come from Koosh. And each character has their own motives and has their own goal, but then they have different conflicts and problems that they have to deal with. And they all have different resolutions, which I really love. And each of them have their own little story and their own little lesson to be learned and take away from this movie, which I really love. It's great.
Take me behind the scenes. What are a couple of your favorite memories, moments from set?
I definitely There's definitely a lot. I'd say one of my favorites, well, one of them that I can remember off the top of my head every time is when we're talking about Lauren Gray, Katrina Oriana, and it's all four boys, and I'm showing the Instagram. I turn back to Ramon, and he doesn't say anything. Ramon's just a funny guy. I couldn't stop bursting out laughing. I think we took that take 15 times, and finally I had to get myself together. Ramon had to get himself together. But we finished that scene. That was definitely something that stuck with me. That was definitely my most unprofessional moment on set.
Are these outtakes going to be released in some kind of blooper reel or anything like that?
I don't think I have any news from that, but I hope so. I do want to see these because all I remember is from my memory. So I do want to see these outtakes and bloopers.
How was it working with Mason, Ramon, and Raphael? What can you say about them as people? And did the four of you bond quickly when you met?
I feel like we did. I feel like we did a lot when we got the set for the first day. We've met each other before. We've met each other at the table read, but we didn't really interact there. We talked, we had a conversation, but where we actually started talking was those first few days of shooting at the school. And Dave and John, really smart move to have us going to school for the first time because that's where we all could group together and have that first day of school and also first day of meeting each other. Um, Feeling, and I feel like we clicked really well. Each of them in their own way is super talented, super hilarious. I mean, I love them all.
How was your experience working with the film's writers, directors, Dave and John Chernin? What did you learn by watching them work?
So when I first got the role, I looked over their IMDb. I looked over everything from John and Dave, and I found out they were in the Mick. And so I proceeded to watch the entirety of Mick. Uh, really funny show, but I just wanted to see. My goal was to see, because comedy can be taken in any type of way, and I wanted to see how John and Dave what John and Dave call comedy. And I saw, and I used their type of comedy and my type of comedy to create this character, Koosh.
There's always interesting kind of nuances that different directors do, like behind the scenes that actors pick up on. So, do you think that was it fun to kind of interact with them in person? Like, were they really great to work under?
100%. They were really talented guys, but also they're brothers. So I mean, I have a sibling myself, so we don't usually get along that much. We don't really have this. We don't really come to terms as in opinions. But surprisingly, Dave and John, they worked extremely well together. They came to set knowing exactly what to do and what was the best thing to do, and they would both point you in the right direction or point you in a way that they think it is a better option, but they wouldn't push you, they would open up that and see what you would make yourself. And they would always laugh behind the computer, behind the monitors. I could hear them. They would be in the other room while we do the scene and they'd start laughing from the other room. It's so hilarious.
That's when you know you're doing something right, though, in this scene, which is great. Can you tell me about your heritage as an Iranian American? Like, how has it shaped your identity, and how have you stayed connected with your Iranian and Middle Eastern cultures since your move to the US?
Definitely. So I moved from Iran, but I've always visited. I always come back because I have a lot of family there. So I would come over here, and for summers or around spring, I would go visit them and I'd stay there. And I would go out a lot myself. Like I would go down my street because I had a lot of memories down my street. I would go down the street. I go down the corner where all the stores are, and it would bring a lot of memories back. But also, I can take this all in and use it for my roles as well, which it was really kind of therapeutic for me to walk around my country.
And you also speak Persian and Farsi as well, right?
Yeah, Farsi, yes.
It must be nice to speak the language because then it kind of allows you to communicate with your relatives back home as well.
Yeah, 100%. It's yeah, I mean, it's definitely a plus. It's not like I'm gonna speak English to them because they don't really know English, but it's good. It's good that I have two languages, really helpful.
Do you think your relatives in Iran are going to watch you in your new movie?
I hope so. I mean, I hope they don't take my role too seriously because my Koosh is really complex and he does a lot of stuff. Um, but I would love them to see it. I'd love to see how they think about my role in the movie.
It's just a character you can remind them, but I'm sure they'll be so proud of you that you're in a Netflix movie. Do you feel any added responsibility as a young Iranian actor in Hollywood to represent your country and push for more visibility in the entertainment industry?
I feel yeah, I definitely want to spread more visibility about my heritage and Iran itself. I would like to get more Iranian roles. I'd like to branch out into both American and Iranian roles.
I feel like it's just you're just starting your career, so it'll be interesting to see like maybe in 5, 10 years time what kind of more roles there are and hopefully more diversity in film and TV. You have goals to direct and produce as well. You mentioned your video production class. How and when did this passion for filmmaking and actually being behind the scenes start?
So I was strictly an actor for most of my life, and I think about seventh or eighth grade, I got into um, my middle school's broadcast class, and I didn't really like it. I didn't really like broadcast. Um, but then I warmed up to it, and then when I got into high school, I took my first video production class, and I really enjoyed it because now when I've been doing filmmaking for so many years now, I whenever I'm on set in front of the camera, I can see how how and what the director's thinking whenever he's looking around the set or whenever he's looking at something or talking about something in my performance, I can see what he's thinking and I could exactly give it to him because that's what I would be thinking when I'm behind the camera.
Basically giving you like a whole new perspective, which is
Definitely.
something to carry forward with you. Do you have any favorite kind of directors or inspirations in that sense?
I'd say, I mean, a lot of the famous directors like Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese. But one I'm a really big fan of is the actor and director Bill Hader. He uh, wrote and produced and directed Barry, and I've watched Barry probably 3 times. And I'm really fascinated how he can write it, direct it, and act in it, which is extremely hard. Some of the times he doesn't direct it, but the times that he does and acts is extremely baffling to me. How he can go in front of and back of the camera at the same time. And I think he's one of my inspirations.
I can only imagine the energy that must take, but also, that creative mindset. What kinds of stories do you want to tell? Are there anything in particular, like themes that you might want to touch on in future original projects?
I'm definitely I'm definitely a fan of comedies. Like Incoming and Superbad. So I'd like to make something kind of like that, but also I'd like to branch out into dramatic comedies because I really like the dramatic comedies where it's a drama, but then there's hints of comedic relief, not by just like words, but like the actions the actor does or the character does, or something that happens is just funny. And I think that's a great way to show the comedy.
For sure. And speaking about drama, like you mentioned, working with your friends on little short videos, like you did one on distracted driving, truths about social media. So it's also great to see like the social awareness that you have, and hopefully also bringing some of that into your work.
Definitely, I mean, I like to spread a lot of awareness as well. Maybe through PSAs, like public service announcements, or just like documentaries. Maybe from countries, maybe from people, or just individuals.
I have one more question, our signature question. If you could be any ice cream flavor, which would you be and why?
Feel like that's a great question. Um, this might be kind of a hot take, but I feel like mint. I don't know. I've always liked mint, and no one likes mint. No one's a fan of mint, and I every time I go to the ice cream store, it's always the only one that's full. But I think it's more for me, I guess. But I'd be mint chocolate, be mint chocolate.
You're like justice for mint chocolate chips.
Like I'm the only advocate for mint chocolate.
I love that answer. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat. Congratulations again on your feature film debut. For all those watching, you can catch Bardia in Incoming, which is out on Netflix August 23rd, and we will see you next time.